I really wanted to give this album something higher. I really, really did. I love atmospheric metal, and from the time I started this album, after last week's Corrosion of Conformity album, I thought, man, this could be another Album of the Year contender. Then it droned on and on and on, until I was finally just so winded from listening to it, I had to bump it down a bit in the grading scale. Yep, it's time for another metal review, and today's album is Khram by folk metal band Arkona. Now, this was an album that I really looked forward to listening to. I heard Storm on Metal Injection's website, and I loved the song. It was short enough to where I could stand it, yet it had enough atmosphere and melody to keep me involved. Then I got into the rest of the album. Now, Napalm Records normally releases some very good albums. Shoot, one of my favorite symphonic bands of all time, Xandria, is signed to Napalm. Their production levels are normally very well done, and Moonspell just released 1755 on the label last year, which made some Album of the Year lists that I saw. I haven't heard the whole album yet, but from what I have heard, it was pretty good. Unfortunately, not every album can be perfect, and Khram is a staunch example of this. There were both good and bad points to the album. For one, as I mentioned earlier, I am a huge fan of atmosphere in metal. I love it when the music sounds far away and contemplative, and I could basically fall asleep to it, like they do in post-metal. However, too much of anything, even things you enjoy, isn't good, and Khram had a lot of atmosphere on it. There was simply too much atmosphere. I could have done with 25% less atmosphere and 50% more vocals. Now, that's another thing. The vocals felt totally unbalanced on the album. It felt like they didn't know when they wanted the screaming to end and the singing to start. When the singing did start, it was lovely. The lead vocalist, Maria Arkhipova, does both clean and harsh vocals on the album. Well, I gotta give props to her for doing both. It still felt just a little lost. For instance, the song "Vi pogoni za belaj tenyu" has vocals that start at just over a minute into the song. The next song, "Vi la donya bogov," has vocals that wait to start until 3 minutes into the song. That's just too long to wait on vocals. Another problem I had with the vocals was their placement in the overall mix. It felt as if the guitars and drums were bashing you in the head, while Arkhipova's vocals, while clearly audible, were lost amidst all of the atmospheric mumbo-jumbo blackish metal that they were trying to create. The album would have benefited, in my opinion, from downplaying the guitars and drums just a bit, especially when Arkhipova is singing. She has a great voice, but it's drowned out by all the other noise going on. As I said, love atmosphere, love noise, but the vocals and instruments need to be equalized. Even death metal bands do that. Shoot, Red Before Black by Cannibal Corpse, you could hear Corpse Grinder Fisher's vocals. Another issue I had with the album was the song length. I'm a big fan of shorter song lengths. I can deal with 7, 8, and even 9-minute songs, but 17? I looked at the song lengths for this album, and at first I was intrigued because the song lengths ballooned up to that point so quickly. It felt like the album was gonna, peak there, and then the last few tracks were gonna be shorter. Boy, was I wrong! The 17-minute track is followed up by 9, 7, 9, and 8-minute tracks before an outro that's only 55 seconds long. It feels like they're droning on, and then they smack you in the face with such a short finish. In the end, Khram is an atmospheric album, period. There's really no melody or just riffs to speak of. It's all a bunch of neo-black metal, that sort of tremolo picking style on the guitar. In some songs, this works. In others, it feels like it's done way too much. Now, I did appreciate the use of some unconventional instruments on the album, but other than that, it just seems to drone. I'm in college, so I'm not a big fan of things that drone on and on and on without stopping. It's not a terrible album, but it's nowhere near an Album of the Year candidate. So, I'm giving Khram by Arkona and 83 out of 100 on the yearly perfection scale. Thanks for watching. Click like, subscribe. I'll see you next week with another metal review, and I can tell you I'm excited because next week's review is the new Tribulation album. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.